Bem, muito bem, também ninguém está para ouvir a minha apresentação, é mais o Fábio. Portanto, now for his three conclusions and way forward. O Fábio Vieira, o Fábio é um local aqui da Terceira, vive em São Miguel, é chefe de divisão para Ciência, Tecnologia e Inovação da Direção Regional da Ciência e Tecnologia, tem uma licenciatura em European Studies, um mestrado em International Relations, já trabalhou no setor privado, no setor público, agora coordena, e aí se estiver errado também podes-me corrigir, de Azores S3 Operational Unit. Ok, é isto. Estamos então na ponta final, deixo-vos com a última apresentação do Fábio Vieira. Fábio, força.
Muito obrigado, Nuno. Do we still have English speakers in the room? Yes? Okay. So in English? Thank you, everyone. My foreword is to apologize for that picture. I have received a considerable backlash on this week with my co-workers. One of them tried to take me another picture and asked to the organization to change. And I think one of them was actually trying to make a tutorial on YouTube on how to Photoshop my head. So it is what it is. There's no way to coming back now. Of course, my first words are to thank to our center, and to Terinov and to Praia Municipality for the invitation to be here. And allow me especially to Duarte, because of our close relation, working relation, but also personal. And Duarte is one of the top tiers stakeholders in the regional innovation and research community. So and we have seen today with his pairs on the Terinov how well cherished he is. What they have asked me to do today in this closing session, and after 3 days of a fruitful and very meaningful work, it's very hard because they have asked to draw the conclusions or try to wrap up what we have heard and then to talk about the future. And these poses two main constraints. First, when we draw the conclusions, we always will have an observation bias, and those that are in science know well what this means. I will see what have been said on these last days through my own lenses, through my own work, and of course I would apologize to all the others and all the things that have been said here, but what I can retain, it's based on my biased observation, of course. The second thing is to talk about the future. It's very hard to talk about the future. As you know, most of predictions, and I have a regional director that is an economist, like he always say, they spend 6 months every year making predictions and the other 6 months trying to justify why they have been wrong on their predictions. And it is very difficult to talk about the future. I have seen pictures on the French, the French exhibition in Paris in 1899 and then in 1900, and the way they have seen the future, and now we can look after more than 1 century, it always seems wrong and way out of order what has been perceived as a possible future. Another interesting thing to see is that several times when we try to construct or predict the future, one of our mistakes is to predict that future based on the known technology. So there was actually ideas on the 1900s in France, in Paris, that they have seen flying cars or flying mechanisms, not drones, not with the technology that we know now. That actually happened, but their mindset was with wings and things that were technology available at that time. So it is difficult to predict, of course, the future. And One of the things that I'm going to try here on my conclusions, it's based on this simple premise. We need to bridge the gap between supply and demand of research and innovation. That is the main thing that I will try to focus on the supply side, academia, air center, other institutions, but on the demand side of private companies. And as we know, there is a significant valley most of the times between these two sides, supply and demand. And what we are trying now, and the public policies that we are trying to implement and create, it's actually on the long term to bridge that gap between supply and demand. So first, some of the conclusions, and in the end I will talk a little bit about the future of S3, the Smart Specialization Strategy. And of course, if any one of you would like to ask any questions, I will be glad to answer them if I know. We have seen on these last 3 days strong remarks about, of course, the sea. It's not by any chance that the sea and the blue economy are one of the pillars of the Azores S3. It could not be in another way. There is more sea in the Azores than land itself. So we have heard the necessity, and we of course agree with this and try to correspond to this demand, the interest of creating test beds, more monitoring, and the importance to communicate with stakeholders. It is quite important that science, research and innovation and development at large do not stay on these kinds of silos. There is a need to communicate this with people, with society, with quadruple helix stakeholders, academia, enterprises, policymakers and society. So I think this was highlighted in one of the panels. It is quite important. Also the valorization of our resources. The Azores have many resources, and it is important to value them with technology, with knowledge. We are selling absolutely uniquely things in Portugal and in Europe below pricing because we haven't been capable to value them, to introduce technology, and to produce wealth to our economy and to the Azorians. They have also highlighted the proximity with end users to co-create new products. So this is a positive thing of living in small island ecosystems, and we can have this proximity and co-create with the end users. Also on the, I think this was the senator that was here with us, it is important that the Azores understand that we are part of larger supply chains, worldwide supply chains, and the senator said that there is the need to, while addressing global challenges, this demands international cooperation. Air Center is a great example of this. We cannot address the problems on the Atlantic, problems that affect Europe, Africa, America separately. This makes absolutely no sense. So there is the need, of course, to bring these people together. To bring this together, it's quite important to have strong leaderships, people that can motivate others and bring everyone at the same table discussing and solving problems. One of the things that were discussed in another panel was the necessity to address regulatory framework to experimental R&D. These are called the regulatory sandboxes. It can be more important than we think. This is something cutting edge to talk about regulatory sandboxes. Most of local companies and researchers cannot understand the meaning of this and how profound this can be, but it can be absolutely critical to develop new solutions. In fact, and I will talk this when I talk about the future, the European Commission Joint Research Center have released recently the Partnerships for Regional Innovation Playbook. And one of the things that the playbook have, this is a toolkit with more than 60 tools to design and implement innovation policies on the territories. And one of the things that are here and are considered critical is to implement, design and implement regulatory sandboxes. The ZLTs are one of them, but they are insufficient for what we need. We need to deepen this process and how do we design these sandboxes. I have, very sorry, I have seen here regarding the strategy for space, one of the pillars is Earth's observation. And this is a very personal view on the topic. But for me, it is a fact that space exploration in the Azores and the space sector should be anchored on Earth observation and the downstream services. There was already before Air Center some critical mass on this area. There were already researchers working on these topics, and now with the Air Center, we have the facilities, the infrastructure, the know-how, the people, and the Azores really needs Earth observation to implement public policies. Our economic exclusive zone have more than 2 million kilometers. If we encompass all our marine protected areas and the islands, this will more than double the area that we need to monitor. Without Earth observation technology and downstream services created from the Copernicus services or others, this cannot be done. So it is important that Earth observation has a critical role on this process. People have talked also, and I think it was Pedro, on the small-scale pilots. This will be a reality on the next programming period. We will need to see more pilots, more demonstrators, more proofs of concepts, and this is the way forward with companies, with academia, and with other stakeholders. But there is the need to engage on all these people and to test and validate. There are some paths that will lead to nowhere, and this is part of the discovery process, but there are paths with high risk, high gain that need to be addressed. Also something that was talked in one of the panels, and it's quite important to the regional directorate, it is the importance to align these projects, these initiatives, whatever they are in the different sectors, with the regional S3. So this is not only a matter to access or secure funding, and this is mandatory to be aligned with the S3, but it's also a matter of economic development and that the region needs to specialize itself. It's not by any chance that when we quit for being recollectors, hunters and recollectors, and we start to produce our own food and to establish cities, etc., this was all based on specialization. The society, the social structures, tend to specialize to gain more mass, more volume. And in research and in innovation, this is exactly the same. We need to be specialized. One of the lecturers talked about hyper-specialization. It's something that is quite interesting, to be hyper-specialized in something. But this is definitely the way forward. It's to be, of course we can discuss if these 5 pillars are enough, if they are the more important, if we should consider others, but the way of specialization, it is something that is quite important. We have seen also here on these days several industry-related activities in the space sector. We cannot do everything, of course. We have one of the entrepreneurs here talked about when he started to design an entire glider and an entire robot and eventually understood that that might be too much. But if we want to develop these cutting-edge sectors like space and Earth observation, we need to contribute and specialize in parts of the supply chain. We cannot do everything. I won't think we will be able to assemble rockets here in the Azores, but if we can contribute in some specific areas, that will be important and will bring more activity to the local economy. Also to highlight the real-life applications of technology that we have seen here, especially in agriculture. And the society needs to understand and to learn how this kind of technology and innovation can help on their real life. People most of the time think that scientists and entrepreneurs are doing things that are not relevant and just spending public money. And we have seen over the past 3 days that people are making with public money, with private money, meaningful things that can be applied to an agriculture with the 4th degree in some rural area in Terceira. Someone that doesn't understand how a satellite works, how Air Center is processing that image in Terra Chã, but some guy in Altares is now moving his cow because someone has the technology to assist him. So this is important to think and to have this mindset to real life needs and real life applications. It was clear for me, but we already knew this, that there is more technology maturity or technology readiness level in areas related with agriculture and the sea or the blue economy. So the other areas of S3 have less developed maturity on their technologies. We have learned something that we already know, but is always important to be reminded of, that it is important to nurture and to support entrepreneurs. So they should be the backbone of these innovation processes, and through the scientific and technological parks, Nonagon and Terinov, throughout the regional incubator of enterprises and their initiatives, we really need to nurture these people and their work and try to help them to go to market and bring their ideas to the economy. While we have here seen the best practices, the best projects, it was also clear that there are significant areas of our regional economy that still need to be populated with research, development and innovation. There is much more to do. There are many other activity areas, economic areas that will benefit with more technology and with more research. So for the transfer institutions like Terinov and Nonagon, there is a significant work to be still done with the stakeholders. Also about the knowledge transfer that we have heard here today, one remark to this need to make more knowledge transfer is that this needs to be made with the academy, with the public institutions and with other private companies. It's not something just for the academia to do, or just for the government to do, or just for Air Center or Terinov to do. It's something that needs to be aligned and create some kind of network to combine efforts on this. We don't need to be doing everything at the same time and everyone the same thing. We can, of course, use our efforts more efficiently. The importance of academia spin-offs. Actually, the regional directorate had in the past a voucher to support academic spin-offs. We hope to have in the future, next year probably. but it is something that the value that it can bring to the ecosystem really needs a specific, a tailor-made approach to work with these stakeholders. Someone has talked here about the importance to have a systemic mapping of the innovation ecosystem and the academia. It was University of Coimbra. We also think the same thing. We can only change and work what we actually know, and we need to know better this ecosystem. On the end side of these conclusions, just two personal remarks. The first one is that just like I started, there is a need to reconcile supply and demand side of research and development, and really need to think this, how can we do, what tools we can implement to assure this. This is on my side, of course, on the side of the public sector, but we also need to have all stakeholders here, civil society, to learn more and to understand what is being done, but we need to bring the policymakers to these kind of events. So people that are, I don't say decision makers, they are here of course, and they have to decide and make, develop their goals and make choices. Everything in politics, it's about choices. Good ones, bad ones, but everything is about choices. But policymakers, and this is a quite long pipeline. Policymakers are many different people that are somehow involved in the process of policymaking. They need to be in these kind of events. They need to hear what is happening. I know my colleagues in the regional directorate, they are following us through the online event, and they have been very attentive for this last 2 days. But people that work every day with the programs, with the incentives, with the public policy tools, they need to be involved in this as well. And I would like to, regarding this last panel, one of the suggestions they have made when Duarte asked them, a way to be more engaged in policy making. We are more than happy to welcome you on the S3 working groups. So the regional strategy has not too complex, but a complex governance structure. And one of the things that we have in the governance structure is called the working groups. So each one of the pillars of the strategic areas, the 5 that you have already heard, will have specific working groups working in those areas, having access to the calls that will be proposed to the operational program. And this is a good way that you can interact on the policy making. There is no need to create some kind of wise man concilium to discuss this. There is already tools and groups that can do this, and they are very on a very effective basis of their work. So you are more than invited to reach us, to the regional directorate, and to ask to be included on the working groups. And finally, something about the future. So in the European Union, or the work that the European Commission does, we normally, and this is available to everyone, it's not something that we need a crystal ball here to understand about the future in the European Union, but they normally work 5 to 10 years in advance of any public policy implementation. And we have seen this throughout the programming periods and the financial frameworks. And things that we will see implemented in 2027 are of course already being discussed. And the European Union normally has a process where they have a solid scientific background on these policies. They pay a lot of money to have researchers, universities to build a solid conceptual framework. And then they start to test, and we are part of this test right now. And in the end, on the next programming period, we will have the public policies implemented. So The Azores government, the regional directorate, is part of this initiative, the regional the Partnership for Regional Innovation. This is a joint initiative with the JRC, the Joint Research Center of the European Commission, and the Committee of Regions. And what they are doing, they are applying, of course, this playbook like I showed you before, and these tools. They want to test these tools on the different territories across the European Union and the regions. But what they are doing, it's already testing the new framework of S3, what we can expect after 2027. And what we know today that probably will change is that the S3 that began with the entrepreneurship discovery process, that was something designed to retrieve these priorities, to identify with the stakeholders what priorities should be focused more on the territories to assure economic development, well-being, etc. But now what they are saying is that we need to bring directionality to this approach. So we will stop talking about the entrepreneurship discovery process, and we will talk about open discovery process. And the main difference is that in the future, we will be more guided by a mission-oriented work, or more with specific objectives, than by priority areas. So at this point, what we have is, we say, agriculture and agro-industry. And this is a point where all the initiatives arise from here. So you can present different approaches to within this priority area. In the future, we will say, well, one of our main goals is to have food safety or food security, for example. And then we will create a program or design programs and mechanisms to finance this objective. The European Union already started with this, with the EU missions. This is already a new orientation and the willing to introduce this new path. But in the future, we will of course learn about this. So less than priority areas, more about transformative innovation policies. So all the focus will be on how to address regional and local challenges. How can science, how can companies help to address these challenges? So there will be the need in the future not to define what our priority areas, the areas that we are good, we can excel, or we have a high potential, but to identify our main challenges, our main problems, and then to design everything to address these challenges. So we will go from a V-shaped policy to like a house or a ceiling shape policy. How can we converge and help addressing that challenge? We have foreseen, and we as a science service, we expect to be and we tend to be at the forefront of these kind of activities, of course. And we have proposed on the new regional program, Azores 21-27, one of our action areas will be the regional missions. We already foreseen this for the next programming period. And we are engaging, of course, within the PRI, this European project, and within other projects and throughout the networking and the working that is being done with other partners outside the Azores and within the Azores. We will, for the next 6 to 7 years, try to define what can be one or more regional missions. We need to identify what are the main challenges on the regional economy, the regional society, and try to bring this entire ecosystem, and this will need to be, it's mandatory to be done with the quadruple helix stakeholders, academia, government, enterprises, and civil society. And how can we bring all these people together through parallel projects, to big projects, but how can we address these missions? So, two great challenges will be the first one to define these missions, because of course the regional society will have different interpretations what can be the most important missions that need to be addressed. And after this difficult process, we will need, of course, to address them and actually work trying to solve them. One good thing is that there is no preconceived ideas. On our mind, there is no mission already defined or any challenge that we think that should be addressed. We think that the ecosystem is already mature enough to have people contributing to define this, of course with the policy making orienting the entire process, but there is already enough maturity to define and to address these challenges. Duarte, I think it was enough time, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Fabio. I'm feeling much more included now. If a guy from science and technology has a black book, I think I'm on the right path. So, thank you. The conclusions are made, so we're going for the ceremony, the closing ceremony. First, I call Pedro Silva. I call the three: Pedro, Duarte, and Flavio, sorry, for the closing ceremony. First, to the mic, I think it's Pedro Silva. Oh, you can do it right there? Okay. First, Pedro Silva is the CTO of Air Center. I think I'm going to introduce the three and then you pass the mic. Pedro is CTO of Air Center. Duarte is the... I was seeing this, I was predicting this. Duarte is the executive director and member of the board of Terinov. Flavio is the regional director of science and technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nuno. So just a couple of final words and remarks on behalf of the Air Center. And Emir Siraj couldn't be here today, so he had to travel before, so he asked me to replace him here. But a couple of final remarks I would like to make. So I think it was 5 years ago that we were here, or some of you might have been here in the same building where the Air Center was created. So it's kind of really nice to see that after 5 years we are here closing this session in the same building where the Air Center was created. So for me, it's kind of also a sense of pride that we have been able to reach where we are now. Then I would like to give a big thanks to Terinov and all the team from the Air Center and from Terinov, which have been really amazing in the work that they did. The regional government in all the support that they gave in the different projects and the different initiatives, and also for being so active. It was really important for us. And of course the National Science Foundation, FCT. They have been, of course, one of the big entities that have been allowing the Air Center project to be here. So it was a really intense couple of 3-4 days, actually, with a lot of things going on, a lot of training in Earth observation, satellite, and so on, but also really intense, very diverse topics. And it was really amazing to see that all these incredible things have been here discussed. There are a lot of opportunities, a lot of things, a lot of work that needs to be done in the next couple of years, facing all the existential and climate crisis, but also so many other things that are really an opportunity for all. So we've seen a lot of international dimension in the problems that we have to solve. That's why also this is called the International Innovation of Atlantic Innovation Week. It's really the reason why we also started this initiative. So in this second edition, we keep on tackling these international problems. So international dimension of the problems is something that I believe we have been successful in bringing. So many opportunities came out of this. I saw companies here trying to open their offices here in the region. So it was really positive to be able to see that we have new players that want to come here to the region. We have seen new corporations coming out of here with new projects being discussed in the meeting rooms, in the cafeteria, in coffees, in different places. So I think that we were also very lucky to be able to have this opportunity to meet, to discuss, and to create and forge new opportunities. And finally, I would really like to thank all the speakers and participants. Without them, this wouldn't have been possible. So a big thanks to all of you, and I really hope that you enjoyed this day. And on behalf of the Air Center, a big thanks to everybody. So.
Thank you, Pedro. Very briefly, I know that everyone is tired, and I must admit, wow, it's been a hell of a journey over these last 3 days. I know that some of you are already rushing to the airport in order to catch your flights back home. It was a great pleasure to have you here. Other of you want to still enjoy a nice and pleasant walk by the waterfront, and I invite you to do so. But let me just be very, very, very brief on this. I think Pedro already wrapped up the main points. It's been 4 busy days, but very fruitful ones. A lot of solutions came out. A lot of questions arose as well, which is always critical in this type of event. But I think we also made a good effort, and the overall balance is great, that we were also able to position the Azores in the international scientific and technological map. So that for us is critical. It's important for the world to get to know what we're doing here, what's our technology readiness level, which is already something. And this is a great showcase for the good things that we are doing in the Azores. Very briefly, just let me thank to a few people and teams that made this all possible. Of course, initially and first of all, a very special thanks to you, Pedro, my good friend. Atlantic Innovation Week was born from a cafeteria conversation 3 years ago, so to say. And we're moving to probably the 3rd edition next year, so I'm already putting on your side to accept this challenge as well. We're ready to do it once more. A very special thanks to everyone involved in preparing this event. A special thanks to the Air Center staff as well, been supporting us perfectly over the last 4 days to be more precise. A very special thanks to the municipality of Praia da Vitória, especially to its mayor, Vânia Ferreira, that since day one, when we went to meet her at the City Hall, just opened the doors, literally, for us to be able to organize this event with this quality in Praia da Vitória. Of course, not forgetting our core partners, the regional government of the Azores. Thank you, Flavio, for all your support and for being always with us. And of course, a special thanks to all speakers, participants, and of course, all the support staff. Also mentioning 9 Media Company, who had helped us with the production of this wonderful event, and I thank them deeply. Above all, now on a personal note, I would like to thank Terinov's team. It's a magical team, especially Rui and Carlota. It's been a great pleasure and a great honor, not only to work with you on a daily basis, but also to grow with you as a person and as a professional. So I deeply thank you for all your efforts, for always having a smile on your face, even with the biggest constraints and adversities. And that's what motivates me to be there tomorrow at 9 a.m. to receive another visit for another school and to receive some of you that are willing to visit Terinov tomorrow morning. So let's do this. Thank you.
Okay, just a few final words. First of all, I want to congratulate Duarte and Pedro, to Terinov, and Air Center for planning and making it happen. A great week. All the sessions I have the opportunity to come were fantastic. I took several notes. I also have my team here so they can read, they can understand, they can bring to the policies we are working on and try to challenge also what we need in terms of innovation, in terms of human capital, in terms of evolution. This is another dimension that we have to work on, and I'm sure we have here a great event and one that can be done in other places, but here we have really the seeds that we need to grow up also in terms of innovation, in terms of research. These last days were wonderful, and we count with Terinov and with Air Center to make it happen and try to transform this amazing region to a region where researchers, innovators feel well and want to stay and want to grow up with us in terms of economy, in terms of society, in terms of really changing the way we can do things and we can have impact in day-to-day life of people. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, and congratulations to both of them and all these institutions that have been here, because it's also amazing to see how many people are passionate about what they talk about. So it's very good to see that this energy, this innovation glow can really change the Azores, and I hope to see the impact we can have in a few years, probably in IW in the next 4 years, and we can see really the transformation we can do with it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Flávio, Pedro, Duarte. For me, it was a pleasure to be here too. I learned a lot for these 3 days. So thank you for the invitation. And I know you all want to proceed your careers. You have goals, objectives. But I know you all will still continue to fight for a better world, and this is very important. And thank you for letting me doing my part too. Thank you very much. Have a nice return home. Thank you.